Prince created The Time, a funky, flashy band that took the 80s by storm. But behind the scenes, he ruled with an iron fist, sparking secret feuds, dramatic firings, and a rivalry that still echoes today. This is the untold story of control, betrayal, and the fight for freedom in the shadow of a musical genius. Before we dive in, just a quick heads up, we upload videos daily right here, bringing you the hottest topics in the Black community, especially shining a light on the legends, the old-school Black celebrities who shaped culture and music. Stick with us, because every day is a new story you won't want to miss. Let's take it back to 1981, Minneapolis, Minnesota, a city bubbling with musical talent, where two young dreamers, Prince and Morris Day, were about to set the stage on fire. Prince, already a rising star with his wild energy and boundary-pushing sound, had a vision. He wanted to create a funk and R&B band that could carry his ideas into a whole new lane. Enter The Time, a group dripping with swagger, sharp suits, and a sound so electric it could make anybody move. At the front was Morris Day, the cool-as-ice lead singer with a voice that oozed charm. But here's the catch. The Time wasn't really a band in the traditional sense. It was Prince's brainchild, and he controlled every note, every beat, every move. Prince wrote the songs, produced the albums, and even played most of the instruments himself in the studio. Sometimes he'd hide his involvement, slapping fake names like Jamie Starr on the credits so fans wouldn't catch on. Morris Day and the rest of the crew, Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis, Jesse Johnson, and more. They were the faces, the live performers, the ones bringing the magic to the stage. But behind the curtain, they were employees in Prince's empire, with little say in the creative process. Hits like Jungle Love and The Bird blasted out of radios and lit up dance floors, making The Time a household name. The crowds loved their funky grooves and high-energy shows. But inside the band, frustration was brewing. Morris Day, the man with the mic, started feeling the weight of Prince's grip. He'd strut out there in those slick suits, delivering lines like, "I'm just cool," with effortless style. But he knew the truth. He wasn't calling the shots. Neither were Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, two insanely talented musicians who could do more than just play Prince's tunes. They could create their own. They wanted to stretch their wings, produce for other artists, build something outside of Prince's shadow. But Prince wasn't having it. He demanded total loyalty. "Focus on my projects," he'd say, shutting down their side hustles. Still, Jimmy and Terry couldn't resist. They started moonlighting, producing tracks like "Just Be Good to Me" for the SOS Band, a banger that was climbing the charts. Prince caught wind of it, and let's just say he wasn't clapping for their success. Things hit a breaking point during the 1999 Triple Threat Tour. In 1982, The Time was out there killing it night after night, alongside Prince's Revolution and another Prince creation, Vanity 6. The tour was a showcase of Prince's world, but The Time was stealing the spotlight more than he liked. Fans were buzzing about their funky sets, and a rivalry sparked between the two camps. Prince didn't take kindly to being outshined. There's even a story from another tour where he stuck The Time behind a curtain, playing backup for Vanity 6. Terry Lewis laughed it off later, calling it easy money, but you can bet it stung. They were too good to be sidelined, and Prince knew it. Then came the snowstorm that changed everything. One night, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis jetted off to Atlanta to work on an outside project. They figured they'd slip back in time for the next show. No harm, no foul. But Mother Nature had other plans. A freak snowstorm grounded them, and they missed a gig. For Prince, that was the ultimate sin. Loyalty and dedication were everything to him, and missing a show, unforgivable. A few days later, he called a meeting at the studio where they were cutting their next album, Ice Cream Castle. Morris Day and Jesse Johnson were there, hunched over tracks, when Jimmy and Terry walked in. Prince didn't mince words. "You guys are fired," he said, cold as ice. Just like that, Two of the band's biggest talents were out. Morris and Jesse sat there, stunned, but they didn't dare challenge him. Prince ran the show, literally. His production company owned the time, and his word was law. Years later, Prince tried to spin it, claiming in a 1985 interview that Morris asked for advice and he just gave an opinion. But everyone in the room knew the real story. Prince pulled the trigger. Jimmy Jam said it plain as day. Prince kicked them out without a second thought, worried they'd take the Time's sound elsewhere. Funny thing is, Jimmy and Terry didn't even try to copy it. They respected the band too much. Instead, they turned their firing into fuel, launching a production career that would make them legends. Meanwhile, the Time kept rolling, but the vibe was off. That night, after the firings, they stayed up from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., recording Chili Sauce, originally called Proposition 17. It was a solid track, but something was missing. The original spark was fading. By the time Prince was gearing up for Purple Rain in 1984, the Time had a whole new lineup. Jimmy, Terry, and even Monty Moyer were gone, replaced by fresh faces. The band you see in the movie, not the same crew that started it all. Morris Day felt it too. He later said he lost that magic, that feeling of being in his favorite band. The Time was unraveling. And then there was the rivalry with Prince himself. Morris and Prince went way back, two Minneapolis kids chasing the same dream. They were friends, sure, but they were also competitors. Prince gave Morris a platform, molding him into the flashy frontman of the Time. But he never let him forget who was boss. In Purple Rain, Morris played the antagonist, a slick-talking rival to Prince's character. The tension on screen, it wasn't all acting. Behind the scenes, they clashed hard. Arguments, near fistfights, you name it. Morris wanted to be a star in his own right, not just Prince's puppet. During live shows, the Time would rip the stage apart, sometimes outshining Prince's set. Prince hated it, pushing himself harder to stay on top. By late 1984, Morris had had enough. He walked away from the Time, tired of Prince's control. He tried going solo, scoring some hits, but it never matched the band's peak. Prince, meanwhile, soared to new heights with Purple Rain. Even after Morris left, the rivalry lingered. When Morris renamed the group Morris Day and the Time for touring, Prince couldn't stop him legally. But you better believe he tried to flex his influence. They'd reunite here and there, like in 1990 for Pandemonium. But Prince's shadow never fully lifted. The Time's story didn't end there, though. They broke up and reformed more times than you can count. In 1990, they came back as the original Seven for Graffiti Bridge and dropped Jerk Out, a funky hit that reminded everyone what they could do. But Prince still owned the name The Time, forcing the switch. The new name didn't stick, and the reunion fizzled. Over the years, they'd pop up again. 1995 with new members, 2008 at the Grammys, 2011 with Condensate. Each time they brought that old-school heat. But the drama followed. Legal battles over the name flared up, especially after Prince's death in 2016. His estate told Morris he couldn't use Morris Day and the Time, sparking a war of words. Morris fought back, saying he'd given 40 years to the band. The estate stood firm, citing a 1982 contract. It's a mess that's still unresolved. When Prince passed, Morris mourned him deeply. He paid tribute, calling Prince a friend and a rival who shaped his life. Their love-hate bond was real, two giants pushing each other to greatness. The Time's legacy lives on, too. A star on the wall of First Avenue in Minneapolis proves it. They influenced funk, R&B, and beyond. Even if Prince controlled the reins, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis became production royalty, crafting hits for Janet Jackson and Mariah Carey. Morris kept the flame alive, touring with whatever version of the Time he could muster. It's a saga of talent, tension, and triumph, a story that's pure black music history. Well, now that you've come this far, subscribe and leave a comment. We're here every day diving into the stories that matter. especially the icons of the Black community who paved the way. Hit that subscribe button, drop your thoughts below, and let's keep the conversation going. See you tomorrow with another Legends tale.